To more serious news here. Former IMF chief Dominique Strauss-Kahn is in court right now. The hearing just underway where Judge Michael Obas is expected to grant the district attorney's request to dismiss sexual assault charges against Mr. Strauss-Kahn. There's Kayla Tausche. She's outside the courthouse in New York with the very latest right now. Kayla?
Bill, just moments ago we did see Dominique Strauss-Kahn enter with his two lawyers. I'm told that he is not in the courtroom right now, that he's still huddled in a back hallway with the rest of the defense team, except for his lawyer, Ben Brafman. Brafman has entered the courtroom, so the proceeding is yet to be underway just yet. We have also seen Ken Thompson, the complainant's lawyer, arrive with an unidentified woman, but the woman is not Nafi Diallo, the Sofitel hotel maid who did accuse Mr. Strauss-Kahn of sexual assault back in May. What we do expect today is that Judge Michael Obas will dismiss the criminal charges against the former IMF director. We did expect that they would be addressing the house arrest and they'd remove that ankle brace, Bill, as you spoke about earlier in the program. But I was just emailing with Dominique Strauss-Kahn's spokesperson, Marina Ein, who said he has not been under house arrest for some 6 weeks. And assuming the judge approves the request to dismiss, Dominique Strauss-Kahn will be completely restored to every freedom that exists. Of course, one of those freedoms would be returning to Paris on that flight that he wasn't able to finish on May 14th. The first flight, I'm told, to Paris today leaves JFK at 4:40 p.m. It is a question whether he'd be able to make that one, but Bill, it does look to be a very positive day for the defense team.
All right, Kayla.
Kayla Tausche, thanks so much, and stay with us. And now that the criminal case is expected to be dismissed, what is next for DSK? Joining us now is Gerald Lefcourt, criminal defense attorney, and Tom Curran, former prosecutor and securities lawyer at Pekar Abramson. Thanks to both of you for joining us. Gerald, let me start with you. Now that this chapter of this drama seems to be coming to a close, what have we learned? What do you think?
Well, we learned a lot of things. We learned that the district attorney could rush to an indictment, obtain one, and throw somebody into Rikers Island jail and insist that he'd be held without bail, all to come unraveled because we have a witness who just lied at about every occasion she was interviewed, even just crying about a gang rape that was committed on her by soldiers in her native country, rolling around on a floor, and then later to admit that it was all false. That story had prosecutors and investigators teary-eyed that she was so powerful. And here's somebody who just totally lied at every turn, even in the grand jury.
Tom, what's our takeaway? What do you think?
Well, I think that the district attorney's office made the right decisions based upon the knowledge that they had at each point in the investigation. And I think that we learned that the district attorney's office doesn't stop when they have an indictment, but responsibly continue to investigate this case. And when confronted with a fundamental lack of credibility in their complaining witness, did the right thing, making a motion to dismiss these criminal charges. And, of course, there is a civil case, and that case will go on.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that, Tom. I mean, how strong is her case if they can't bring a criminal case at this point? I guess the expectation is that they just settle this thing out of court and he can go home.
Well, most cases do settle, but the lack of criminal charges make, a criminal disposition makes that civil case a damage inquest. Not whether DSK would have to pay, but how much. Now it's kind of a much more of a fair fight. DSK, on the one hand, would have to, if he submits to the jurisdiction and doesn't default, which is an option, he would have to submit to deposition, to sworn testimony, which he didn't have to do in the criminal case. She, on the other hand, also has to be deposed. And, as a matter of fact, under New York law, her deposition goes first.
So everything gets dredged up anyway.
It makes it for a very interesting proceeding.
Jerry, what would you do?
Her civil case is really not bad at all because there is DNA evidence. The whole thing happened in minutes. It's unlikely that somebody would work as a maid in a hotel and be a hooker on the side, as some have suggested. I think her civil case, considering the standard is more likely than not, is a reasonable case. And I'll bet you it gets settled and she'll walk away with some money.
I think that's true.
I'm sorry, I just want to bring in Kayla Tausche. Yeah, go ahead, Kayla.
I do have a question that actually was asked to me by a Twitter follower. The spokesperson that I spoke to for Strauss-Kahn said that he plans to vigorously contest this civil case that was filed just about 2 weeks ago. But my question is basically about the law. I'm asked, would Mr. Strauss-Kahn even have to settle a civil suit in the U.S. as a French national? And if there was a case where there was a civil judgment, would that be something that France then would have to enforce? How does that work?
Well, it's likely that he has already accepted service of this lawsuit since he's been strolling about Tribeca here in New York for weeks now, and he could have been served. So his lawyers probably accepted service, and he's now subject to the jurisdiction of the Bronx Supreme Court, and any judgment could be enforced against property here or anywhere.
All right. Jerry, Tom, always good to see you. Thank you for your insights. Kayla, we'll be coming back to you, I'm sure, as this story develops through the afternoon.